Thank you. Welcome on in, everyone, to episode number 3 of the Rush Hour Cruising Podcast. Now, I know so many of you have been patiently awaiting for episode number 3, so here I am to deliver that episode to you. And today on the episode, we are going to talk about what I am expecting on my upcoming Alaska cruise. That's right. What are my expectations? Why am I going on this Alaska cruise? Is this in fact my first Alaska cruise? Have I ever been to Alaska before? We're going to answer all of these questions and so much more in this podcast. Now, before we get into any of that, I want to thank all of you for being here, whether you are watching here in video form or you are enjoying this as a podcast as it is intended. Now, you can enjoy this content any way you would like. However, this is called the Rush Hour Cruising Podcast, and the intention of this podcast is for me to basically put up my feet, hang out with you guys for 30 minutes and give you an audio-rich podcast in the form of cruise and travel talk. Something if you are driving home in rush hour, if you are at home making dinner and you don't have time to watch the video and you just want to be able to listen to something about travel and cruise. If you are picking up your kids and you are in the car and you don't want to watch a video-rich content live, here is my 30-minute audio-rich podcast for all of that time that there's a little bit of rush hour in your life. Not just rush hour on the road, but rush hour in your life. That is why I intended this podcast. I am here with my feet up. I love this podcast because I can kind of slow myself down. I can sit here. I can talk with you guys. I am going to premiere all of these episodes because I know a bunch of you love to show up to the premieres. I love chatting with you guys. I love being intermingling and intertwined inside of the community. And I love all of that. So no matter how you love to consume these podcast episodes, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. They are 30 minutes. It goes super quick. And I try to stay centralized on the topic that I begin with in the beginning of the show. Now, this is episode number 3. Again, I've gotten so many DMs. I've gotten so many texts. I've gotten so many comments. When is the next podcast episode? And I know I lagged a little bit. I didn't really promise anything as far as when the next episode is going to be premiered. However, I'm going to get better on this and hopefully become in a routine schedule, at least to where you can expect this podcast episode if you are looking for it. So thank you again. Thank you for everybody joining here. And thank you everybody for being at the Rush Hour Podcast, Rush Hour Cruising Podcast, excuse me. Now, today we're going to talk about what I am going to expect on my upcoming Alaska cruise. Now, I am cruising on the Carnival Luminosa that is sailing out of Seattle, Washington. I have never been to Seattle, Washington, whether it was for a cruise or leisure or a vacation. I have never been to Seattle, Washington. I actually have a boss who has a son who lives in Seattle, so hopefully maybe when I touch down in Seattle, if he's not too far, we can meet up for a drink or something like that. But as far as Seattle goes, I don't really know anybody. I know there are some famous landmarks and points to go to. The public marketplace is one that my roommate and myself are going to visit and go to. I know there are a few other famous land points to visit. We may or may not visit those land points. I think Seattle in itself, we're just going to kind of be explorers. We're going to kind of be explorers as far as this entire cruise goes. But I think Seattle, as far as where we're staying, in relation to where all of these things are, I think we're just going to be able to kind of choose one or two. And I'm telling you, man, I really want to catch one of those fishes, or at least see it where they throw the fish in the marketplace. I grew up around the water. I grew up on the water, around the water, and I love fishing. I love marine life. Obviously, why I love cruises so much. So just to see this, the throwing of the fish, I feel like that is just something to mark off the bucket list, at least as far as Seattle and the port of Seattle goes. Now, cruising out of Seattle, I've never ever cruised out of Seattle. This is going to be my first opportunity. And let's just talk about that opportunity and how that opportunity actually came about. I probably would not have picked Alaska to cruise to if it weren't for my one of my best friends who actually is contracted on Carnival, and he works on Carnival. He has worked on Carnival for about 25 years now, and I like to line up at least 2 or 3 of my cruises a year to try to at least visit him. And before this, he was contracted on another ship that was out of one of my favorite ports, New Orleans. And unfortunately, he is now contracted on Luminosa. So it was a unique situation. Alaska is one of the most expensive, not, it's probably top 5 most expensive cruises to go on. There are definitely more expensive cruises to go on. But however, I probably wouldn't have picked now in my cruising journey to go to Alaska for a few reasons. I mean, I really don't have anybody to enjoy it with. Thankfully, I have met my roommate now, who seems to be a very good friend of mine, and we enjoy cruising together. So I'm definitely going to enjoy it with him. But however, I don't really have a significant other to enjoy it with. I know Alaska is one of those places to go with a significant other. And right now, I do not have a significant other. Alaska is also not the Caribbean. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But it's also not the Caribbean cruise that I'm used to, because I've been on 35 cruises. Many would say that it's a seasoned cruiser. However, I would say 33 of those cruises have been to a Caribbean destination, a Mexican Riviera, somewhere where it's a Caribbean style or a hot summer type weather cruise. And while all the ports could be a little different and give you a little something different and offer a little something different, an Alaska cruise is complete 360. So, what am I really expecting as far as this Alaska cruise goes? I'm not expecting really too much, because this first time around, when I'm going with my roommate, we don't really have any excursions booked. And if you look at Alaska, 90% of the people that are on that cruise are going to be on a once in a lifetime excursion. And now you say, well, why didn't you book any of those excursions? Why aren't you going on this once in a lifetime journey or excursion? Well, I do plan in at one point or another to come back to Alaska, whether it's solo by myself again, or with a significant other, or with a group. However, this time around, I want to kind of take the spin, and I'm telling this to my viewers here on the podcast, because I consider you guys a real close knit group, and I'm going to share here on my podcast are the things I probably wouldn't share on lives. However, I just think that if I'm being honest with you guys, Alaska is one of those places that you think about going to. However, the opportunity maybe arises or maybe it doesn't. Now, my roommate that I was luckily able to meet, he had some casino deals that were presented to him, because I looked at the price of this Alaska cruise, and it was really out of my budget. I mean, I tried to fit it in, and I told my best friend, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to meet you on this contract. And he said, that's completely fine and that's okay. And here comes my roommate, my current roommate now that I'm going on cruises with. He said, I have some deals, and honestly, I really need some sea days in the summer because I'm going on a cruise with my wife, and I really need to. We really kind of want to be on the same status as far as Carnival goes when we do our anniversary cruise. I said, well, it's Alaska. He said, I've never been. If I have the deals, I'm down. Okay, so we looked it up. And we have the ever so popular $100 interior room for Alaska, but otherwise, if I looked it up myself, I was going to be paying $1,700. So I mean, thank you, Brady, if you end up watching this or listening to this podcast episode. Thank you so much, Brady, for the opportunity to go here and meet my best friend and hang out with us. But my expectations of this cruise are vastly different because I'm going back to Alaska and I'm going to go with a significant other and be able to do those wonderful once in a lifetime excursions. However, this time around, I'm going to bring the spin of budget cruising to Alaska to my YouTube channel, which I'm getting back to. I'm sorry, I circled and rambled, but going to bring that to you guys. How can I go to Alaska and not book one of these once in a lifetime excursions, right? Because everyone feels like they have to go and book a $600 glacier helicopter ride or snow dog sledding ride. Awesome, all well and good, and I'm going to do that in my lifetime. I am. However, this time I'm going to bring a budget cruise vlogging style Alaska so people can try Alaska without feeling the burden of having to spend all this money in ports. And the other part is, I mean, I really probably don't have $700 or $800 to go bobsledding or dog sledding or mountain hiking or be driven up to a glacier and eat lunch off a ice rock glacier mountain thing. So, I guess completely backwards. However, my expectations is to spend 7 amazing days with my buddy and my new roommate too, in places that I've never been. I am one that just loves to go exploring. So you're actually going to get probably some of the best vlogs as far as Alaska goes on all of the ports that I'm going to be visiting: Ketchikan, Skagway, Juneau, what's the other one? Tracy on Fjord, which I won't get off the boat, but I mean, come on, you're going to see an amazing vlog. And then we'll end up in Victoria, British Columbia. And it's all going to be budget styling. How can you have fun? How can you explore? How can you go and do some free things and really still encapsulate all of what Alaska can still offer on the budget front? So I hope people are excited about that, because I'm excited to vlog some of those experiences. I'm also excited to vlog the Luminosa, because I know the Luminosa is one of those controversial cruise ships. So I'm here for it. It's the name of my channel, Controversial Cruising. So I'm going to go on and, just like I debunked the Margaritaville at sea rumors, I'm going to debunk some of the Luminosa rumors, because I don't think it's that bad. I really don't. Now, my other expectations, have I ever been to Alaska? No, I haven't. So that's also why I have absolutely no expectations. Also, I am a firm believer that a day at sea is always better than a day at land. And again, like I told you guys, I was almost raised on the water when I came here, and my parents had me on a boat when I was 1, 2 years old, and I was fishing when I could stand. So I mean, I love nautical. I love fishing, anything marine life, and cruising. So I cannot wait to also. Here's my. I don't want to say expectation because it's not an expectation that we start to expect things. But one thing that I'm looking forward to that is going to be vastly different than a Caribbean cruise is the wildlife, right? We might not be able to touch the wildlife or see it, but I have really good binoculars, 2 pairs of really good binoculars that I'm bringing with me. I can't wait to be able to see these breathtaking, maybe breathtaking animals in nature. And it's just going to be one of those things that I'll be able to close my eyes and be able to see forever. Tracy Arm Fjords, I mean, going down the fjords, and the expectations. If you have expectations, I feel like you, and honestly, you always get let down by expectations, but sometimes as the human beings, right, we can set our expectations too high, right? So if we almost don't go into experiences with expectations, then we can't ever seemingly be let down, right? Because, like I said, I would have not been on Luminosa, and I would have definitely not been in Seattle going to Alaska had it not been for wanting to go see my buddy, and this being one of the times that I can actually go see because I have other cruises planned later this year. I also have a few other cruises planned for next year too as well. So things are starting to get a little bit busy. He'll be on a 9-month on, 8-month on, 9-month on, and a 3 or 4-month off. Probably a 3-month off, and then he'll be back on. So going to try to line up next year's cruise with him. Again, it's one of those things that I never really expected. However, I know people are very curious right now about Alaska cruises. I know cruising right now is at an all-time high. People right now, it's probably the best time to cruise. If you're ever thinking about cruising, if you're ever wondering about cruising, and if you're ever thinking about what to expect for cruising, this right now, this time, 2023, is the time to cruise. Because prices, as far as next year, are going to probably go up. Things that were included for free probably may or may not be charged for. I mean, we're already seeing these lines testing these things, testing things that were once free, charging, seeing how customers will react because the cruise numbers and the cruise industry is sailing at over 100% capacity. What does that mean? More than 2 in a room, 3, 4, you can get 4 in a stateroom, so that's how you get over 100% capacity. And a lot of these cruise lines are sailing at that right now, and it's only going to get, I don't want to say worse, but the numbers are only going to rise because they're going to try to fit more and more people on these cruise ships. So I can't wait to go to Alaska. I am definitely going to end up going back to Alaska. I don't know how soon. I don't know when. Honestly, if next year my buddy ends up getting back on Luminosa, I'll probably try to find every way back on Luminosa. But I mean, Alaska probably would not have been my first cruise choice. However, it was definitely in the bucket list. This is not like a cruise that was totally out of the question for me. However, it just was not a now cruise, if that makes sense. There's a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of reasons why people cruise. Let's just say that, and there's a lot of different paths that you're points that you're on your cruising journey, right? We're all cruising for different reasons, right? Some of us have kids, some of us are cruising solo, some of us are going on our bucket list cruises. There's so many different reasons why we cruise and we're on our cruising journey. I have gone through many stages of my cruising journey. I started cruising when I was, I think, 4 upon the SS Dolphin, SS Seabreeze on the Dolphin line, which is no longer floating. It's actually in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and that was a fun ship, though. I do remember it was a cartoon theme year. It was real fun when I was 4. And Hanna-Barbera, if anybody remembers that, Hanna-Barbera cartoon themed SS Seabreeze on the Dolphin. But I mean, I cannot think of a better time to get curious about cruising, because right now there's so many great cruising content YouTube creators on YouTube here that are willing and ready to take you under their wing and teach you all they know about cruising. I mean, I'm passionate about it. It's one of my favorite things. My next cruise after Alaska, not to go on the tangent, but my next cruise after Alaska is actually going to be on the Carnival Valor that's going out of New Orleans, as I expressed, one of my favorite ports, and I'm taking a first-time cruiser. It's one of my favorite things to do. I get so passionate about it. We literally just paid it off. We had our deposit down a couple months ago. We paid it off just last night. And absolutely ecstatic. And he's ecstatic about it. He was thinking about it for a while. We were coworkers for a little while. He was thinking about it, never really got back to me. He was always, I'll go on next one, and he was finally ready. It lights me up. I love to share these experiences with new cruisers. And there's so many wonderful content creators on YouTube that I'm sure have the same passion as me. So if you're somehow listening to this, please, and you're a first-time cruiser or thinking about it, found my podcast because you're thinking about cruising, please find the comment section, find me. I would love to connect and talk about cruising. And I'm on my current journey to share a little bit more. I'm on my current cruising journey now to meet those content creators like myself who are like-minded, and I'm going on group cruises. My entire next year is almost filled up with group cruises to meet other content creators and like-minded individuals, others that I've connected here with on YouTube that may or may not end up listening to this podcast. So I have no expectations going into this cruise and really going into the next cruise. Because this cruise, going with somebody who I thought I would have never met, or if you are following me, you know that my new roommate, my roommate now, who I'm cruising with, I just met on the Margaritaville of the Sea for the first time, and that was a very unique opportunity that got thrown in my lap. That is on one of these podcast episodes, I believe the first episode, so we're not going to go too much into that. However, Margaritaville at the Sea fell into my lap. Brady, my current roommate, ended up deciding to meet me down there, and we cruised on Margaritaville at the Sea, took the opportunity of my cousin canceling on me, and we ended up meeting. But we were supposed to have never met, and this was going to be a whole stranger meet in Alaska, and I was going to take that whole angle. However, Brady's not a stranger anymore, so we really can't take that. We can kind of joke about it, but Brady, you're not a stranger anymore. So I'm going to do the budget style Alaska. Like I said, we're going to show you how to navigate Alaska, still have fun, take in all of what Alaska has to offer for not a lot of money. Not a lot of, and no once in a lifetime excursions. So you'll have to continue to follow me to see what that final lifetime, once in a lifetime excursion is when I return to Alaska. So to be continued for the once in a lifetime Alaska excursion. However, this time we're going to catch some fish, keep it on the budget, and I may even set up a little interview or show you El Jefe / Savio, because I know so many of you have requested, not that you don't believe me, but so many of you that have not met my best friend, because I have been talking about him a lot, have asked me, well, can you meet him? Can you put some stories? Can you show us who El Jefe is? Well, I can. So I will, and I will make sure that hopefully when he is home at one point, we can set up a interview, maybe. And then that's kind of why I wanted to do these podcasts, to set up interviews as far as audio-rich content. So maybe we can even get an interview with El Jefe when he's home back in India. That is where he's from. So again, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to me for a half an hour on exactly what I am expecting on my Alaska cruise. I know we kind of went on many tangents here, but I know a lot of you are trying to get to know me. So my podcast here is another way for me to just kind of share a little bit more and a little bit deeper. A chance for me to kind of slow down a little bit and enjoy some cocktails with you guys and my expectations as far as this Alaska cruise goes for this episode anyway. I promise that I will try to get a routine schedule down. We may not have an exact day that the next episode will release, but I'm going to at least try to get it weekly or bi-weekly. Let's hope that it's definitely more frequent than bi-weekly, but let's hope that at least weekly could be a goal here, because I know a lot of you have requested this episode and I don't want to end up falling behind. So I will find out what the next topic is. You'll see the thumbnail. Thank you so much for stopping into this episode number 3 of the Rush Hour Cruising Podcast. What I am expecting on my Alaska cruise, which isn't really much because we're going to do the budget style. So I don't really have too much expectations other than a really great time with my buddy. There's going to be a ton of other things going on my channel while I am away. So don't think I forgot about you guys. We're going to be posting a ton of shorts. We're going to be posting a ton of long form. And you may or may not get another episode while I'm away. You may get it right when I get back. There may be a special guest. Who knows? But I will talk to you guys next time for episode number 4 of the Rush Hour Cruising Podcast. Like I said, the half hours go really quick. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week and weekend. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you next time. Bye. Cheers.